The Forester Color Multifunction display is far more than just a trip computer. It can show reminders and warnings, display fuel consumption and other trip information, show specialized gauges, and even allow owners to customize some vehicle settings. The display is also used to show all-wheel drive and vehicle dynamics control operation, plus X mode and hill descent control, as well as eyesight driver assist technology if the vehicle is so equipped. This high-grade, full-color multifunction display is standard on Forester 2.5i Premium, Forester 2.5i Limited, and Forester 2.5i Touring, as well as the two intercooled turbocharged models, Forester 2.0 XT Premium and Forester 2.0 XT Touring. In short, all models except the base Forester 2.5i, where an information display is fitted instead. Okay, let's start with some basics. When the driver's door is opened, the Subaru screen appears. Then, when the ignition is turned on, a welcome screen is displayed, unless the driver has previously set this feature to off. More on that later. After the welcome screen, the multifunction display will do a systems check over the next several seconds. Note how the icons turn green once they're checked? That means everything is satisfactory. There's also a goodbye screen when the ignition is shut off. This can be replaced with an eco-summary display if the consumer desires. Now let's look into how all of these selections and displays can be customized. To access all these functions, use the control switches on the left side of the steering wheel. These switches operate like a computer mouse. Pull the up switch to move up or to the left in a list. Pull the down switch to move down or to the right in a list. And pull the I set switch to enter or confirm your selection. Just as with a navigation system, some multifunction display features may not be available when the vehicle is in motion. Now, let's take a look at some of the key features available to customers with the Forester multifunction display. Start by pulling on the I set switch to bring up the list of selections. On the first screen, your options include date, display, screen settings, and maintenance. Scroll to the next screen. It's important to remember that in many cases, you can scroll to an additional screen and you'll see more selections: driving history, car setting, initialize, and go back. Let's start by selecting date, again using the steering wheel switches. To set the date, use the steering wheel switches to move the triangular cursor right or left. Remember, the up arrow moves the cursor left and the down arrow moves it right. With the cursor next to an entry, let's say day of the month, pull the I set switch to confirm that selection, and then use the up-down switches to select a different day. Setting the clock follows the same procedure. Be sure to show this operation to customers at delivery, since most of us have to change our clocks at least twice a year for daylight savings time. And always remember to select Set, which confirms your changes. If you forget this step, the changes you've made will be lost. Follow the same operation to set birthday or anniversary reminders. It's a great way to remember these dates. Let's move on to the next category by using the Go Back function to return to the list of categories. The display selection lets you adjust features of the actual display, such as brightness, contrast, loudness of the beep, or even turning off the entire screen if desired. The screen setting selections give Forester customers many options on what instrumentation will be displayed. The top display lets you change what information will be displayed in the top center of the screen. The choices are average fuel consumption, instant fuel consumption, driving range to empty, or leaving the top display blank. The use of the term consumption or cons may be a bit unfamiliar to most Americans, but it's commonly used throughout the world, and in this case, names several functions within the multifunction display that deal with fuel economy. So just remember that cons means fuel consumption. The next selection within screen setting is cons, or again, fuel consumption. Here, you can customize the fuel consumption screen displayed, range or instant fuel consumption or average fuel consumption, for example. And note that just like fuel economy displays in other Subaru models, the measurements are linked to the trip odometer, trip A or trip B. Make sure you cover this point during delivery. Next within screen setting is Eco History. This setting lets you select the duration of each segment of measured fuel consumption, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or 120 minutes. These segments will be displayed in an eco-history chart. Your customers might want to select the 30-minute segments if they drive mostly short trips, or the 60 or 120-minute segments for longer trips. Again, don't forget to select Set before you move on to another category. The next item within screen setting is triple meter, and I really like the choices here. As the name implies, the triple meter will display 3 different gauges. You can set this up to display fuel economy-related gauges, performance-oriented gauges, or a combination of both. For instance, the left gauge could show elapsed time, the middle gauge lifetime fuel consumption, and the right gauge your average MPG since the ignition was switched on. Or you can set one of these meters to throttle angle, how far you're pressing down the accelerator, oil temperature, and on Forester 2.0 XT models to display turbo boost. There are still a few more options within the screen setting section. The clock setting does not change the time, but rather provides options for how the clock will be displayed, analog or digital clock, or, instead of a clock, to display the date. Still within the screen setting section is bypass screen. This is the screen that will be displayed at startup and shutdown. You can set this to show birthday and anniversary reminders. An eco-driving summary, here's where those 30, 60, and 120-minute segments will be displayed in a bar chart, or turn this feature off entirely. The last category within screen settings is for language. Available languages are Spanish, English, and French. The maintenance section lets consumers set up reminders for oil and filter changes, tire rotation, and other maintenance. This can be set up by date and mileage. Once set, a maintenance reminder will appear as the date and mileage figures are approaching. Note that you can turn this function on or off and clear all previous settings if you desire. The next category, driving history, is tied to the trip odometer, so there's one history for trip A and another for trip B. This will list the starting date of the trip, its duration, miles driven, and fuel consumption over the course of the trip. Resetting the trip odometer zeros the numbers. The car setting feature gives consumers several ways to customize some vehicle functions. In some other Subaru models, these are features that can only be customized by the dealer technician. For instance, you can set the hazard warning lights to flash when the vehicle is locked or not. Set the rear defogger to shut off after 15 minutes or to stay on continuously. The interior lights can be set to dim and extinguish after 10, 20, or 30 seconds, or to turn off immediately. And change the sensitivity of the automatic headlight sensor. Initialize should be treated with extreme caution. This feature will reset all the system settings to the factory default and/or reset the lifetime fuel consumption readings to 0. So be careful that Initialize is not accidentally selected. As you can see, there's a wealth of choices for your customers, many of which can help them drive more efficiently by becoming more aware of their driving habits. Like most new technology, you will definitely benefit by reading the owner's manual before demonstrating these features to your customers. And giving each of your Forester customers a walkthrough of the multifunction display during delivery will increase their appreciation and ultimate satisfaction with their new Forester, as well as with your product knowledge and professionalism.